Good morning, Villa fans. What shall we talk about? How about Aston Villa 4, Bologna 0, 7-1 on aggregate. I'll also be doing a match preview for the Sunderland game as well. So skip ahead 10 minutes or so for the Sunderland preview, but stay tuned for my reaction to the Bologna game as well. And what a game. Villa into the semi-finals, setting up against Nottingham Forest. Ollie Watkins bags his 100th goal as well for Villa, in all competitions. He's now sort of 6th place in the rankings. I've got my notes here. Dwight Yorke is in 7th position on 96, but Ollie Watkins hits 100 for Aston Villa, and we march into the semi-finals of the Europa League. Fantastic game. I mean, obviously blew them away in the first half. Easy street, just cruise control. Second half, I've never watched a game where I could be so relaxed watching a Villa game. So relaxed, in fact, I actually put the kids to sleep. I normally watch a Villa game and I normally just sat there on the sofa watching it, giving them full attention. But 3-0 up at half-time, 6-1 up at that point on aggregate. It was just like, well, you know what? I'll put the kids to sleep. Get a few brownie points with the misses, if you know what I mean. But yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the game. So first of all, team lineup-wise, as I predicted, apart from probably Digne ahead of Ian Maatsen, I expected the lineup to be as it was. Emi Martinez, I said if he was fit and available that he would play, and he was fit and available and he played. So yeah, he did really well, and he kept a record 13th clean sheet in European competitions for Aston Villa last night, going past people like, I think it was Jimmy Rimmer and Nigel Spink. So, club legends from the years gone by. So Emi Martinez has now surpassed them. And then Ollie Watkins, as I said, getting his 100th goal for Villa. I mean, in 6 seasons? So, a really, really good sort of ratio, you can say. Maybe he could have scored a lot more than that. But he said he's got there quicker than Dwight Yorke. Dwight Yorke did it in 183 games. He got 96 goals. Ollie Watkins has got 269 games or appearances and 100 goals. Obviously, with Dwight Yorke, you could probably say he played some of his career kind of early on out wide for us as well. But, well done to Ollie Watkins for hitting 100. And I'm sure that he's going to go on and, add to that tally. And who knows? Who knows what he could do? He's obviously, probably bang on for an England place in the squad for the World Cup now as well, because the likes of Calvert-Lewin and Solanke didn't really take their chances when they got called up. So it's over to you, Ollie Watkins, and he's hitting form at the right time and helping us towards securing Champions League for next season. So, yes, I mean, the build-up to his goal, I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. I've got down here, there was 9 players involved, 14 touches of the ball, and Ollie Watkins tucking it away. I think the ball came into John McGinn. John McGinn feeds it into, I think it's Morgan Rogers. Rogers into Buendia. Buendia back to Rogers. Rogers back to Tielemans. Tielemans into Buendia. Back to Rogers. And then Rogers puts that ball across, and Ollie Watkins is there for a tap-in for 1-0. And again, absolutely fantastic team goal. Love to watch those types of goals as well. Been a while since we scored one like that, but that was very, very enjoyable. Very, very enjoyable to watch. Then Morgan Rogers had a shot, and Villa were flying at this point. Rogers having a curling effort, which was saved by the Bologna keeper, Revalier. And then we also got awarded a penalty. Doesn't happen very often, but we have missed the last 2 penalties against Bologna. Watkins earlier on, I think in this season or last season in the Champions League, I think it was. And then obviously Morgan Rogers last night. It was not a bad penalty, but Revalier did well to get down to it and keep it out and deny Morgan Rogers. But then from the subsequent throw-in that we had, quick throw from Digne, finding Emi Buendia, who showed great first touch, wriggled free, tight angle, but manages to beat Revalier at his near post to make it 2-0 to Aston Villa and really put the tie well and truly beyond Bologna. But yeah, I thought Buendia had a good game. I felt he was holding up the ball well, bringing people into play. I felt as though his style of play suits the Italian way. I think he would definitely be a player that would thrive in Serie A. I think he's got technical ability. He's got a little bit of strength as well. But yeah, Emi Buendia getting a nice goal to make it 2-0 to Villa. But then Morgan Rogers wasn't going to be denied. He did get on the score sheet. And again, a nice move as well. I think it's Ollie Watkins out wide, playing it into John McGinn. John McGinn then finding Morgan Rogers inside the box, who from a little bit of a tight angle, smashes the ball at the near post again, beats Revalier, who's beaten twice at his near post now, to make the score 3-0. And then we see that sort of confidence back in the Morgan Rogers celebration, chest puffed out. I did say that there will be a bit of a redemption for him in this game, and I expected him to go on and have a good performance, perhaps man of the match performance, and he did. I think he was given man of the match for this game as well. So Morgan Rogers just showing a bit of class there against Bologna, and beating the goalkeeper at his near post through pure kind of power. And then at half time, it's 3-0. It's 6-1 on aggregate at that point. The game and tie is over. I think most people at halftime, including myself, was calling for, quite a few changes at halftime to get the players who were on yellow cards. So people like McGinn, Cash, Digne and Rogers to come off and just save them, getting a yellow card and missing potentially the first leg of the semi-final. But it wasn't to happen straight away. But we did make some changes around sort of the hour mark, I think it was, when we made sort of Tammy Abraham coming on for Ollie Watkins. I think who else came on at that point? There was another sub. Was it Bailey that came on at the same time? So we managed to make some subs in that game as well, and get some minutes into some rest into some players ahead of a tough game on Sunday. So that was good to see. But then Ezri Konsa wrapping up the game for us late on, I think in the 88th minute. Corner comes in, it gets cleared up into the sky, and Ezri Konsa swiveling with a first-time volley low and hard into the bottom corner. It felt like a striker's finish. And doesn't Ezri Konsa love a quarter-final goal? He scored against PSG as well in the quarter-final at Villa Park this time last year, and this time gets a goal in the quarter-final to wrap up a 4-0 victory. And obviously he scored in the first leg as well, so that's 2 goals in 2 games against Bologna for Ezri Konsa. He was the captain when John McGinn came off the pitch as well. And I just thought Ezri Konsa was absolutely superb. Obviously had his rest as well against Forest, where Lindelof came in and did really well. There were cries for, maybe sort of Harvey Elliott to get some minutes in this game, because obviously they can't really play in the Premier League without triggering the perm clause. But Unai Emery was quite ruthless. I think Villa were ruthless on the pitch, and Emery was ruthless from the bench. He did make, obviously, the 5 changes, but we didn't see the likes of Ian Maatsen come on, who I felt maybe could get some minutes here. Maybe he's in line to play against Sunderland. Obviously, Marco Bizzo did well when he played against Forest, but obviously went with Emi Martinez. So, and I think Unai Emery said about, one of the reporters, I think it was John Towley, that, he's not thinking about people who are on yellow cards. It was about getting the result, coming out quickly, getting the tie over and done with. And that's exactly what we did. 4-0 Aston Villa, 7-1 on aggregate. We now meet Nottingham Forest in an all-English semi-final of the Europa League, which has happened quite a bit, actually. It's not uncommon. It does happen. But it'll be interesting to see. And I'm glad that we've got the second leg at Villa Park as well. So, we'll travel to the City Ground first game like we just did recently and drew 1-1. We can get a similar result to that and bring it back to Villa Park. Then, I fully expect us to really, really, put our foot on the throttle like we did in this game. And obviously Nottingham Forest are still battling in the relegation zone. So how much attention and how much focus are they going to give to this compared to staying up in the Premier League? So I'm sure they'll try to battle on both fronts, which I'm sure they will try to do. But, if it comes to resting players and there's players that are injured and injury doubts, then they might look to, rest those players perhaps for the Premier League games, because being in the Premier League, it is that important, really. So, but let's see. We've got a couple of weeks now to sort of think about that and prepare for that game, but we don't have long to think about the Sunderland game. And that's a nice little segue for me to come on to the match preview, bang on sort of 10 minutes. So yes, as I said, so moving on to Sunderland, having a look at Sunday, 2:00 kickoff. Sunderland coming to Villa Park, going to be a tricky game. Sunderland currently sat in 10th position in the Premier League, -3 goal difference. They are 3 points at the moment off 6th position, who currently where Chelsea are at the moment. Obviously, Chelsea play before us on Saturday evening, so that could all change. But at the moment, as it stands on a Friday, they are 3 points off 6th position. 33 goals scored this season in the Premier League. That is the joint 3rd lowest, tied with Burnley. So the bottom place, Wolves, have got 24 goals. Forest have 32 goals, surprisingly. And then 3rd place is joint between Burnley and Sunderland on 33 goals. So they don't score very many goals. They haven't got an out-and-out kind of striker. Brobbey has been the one who's been the focal point for the last few weeks and done really well. And then if we look at sort of defensive record, Sunderland have the joint 3rd best defensive record. Conceded only 36 goals. So they are joint 3rd best with Crystal Palace, surprisingly. So the best defence is Arsenal, conceding 24. Then Man City, conceding 28. And then you've got Sunderland and Palace joint on 36 goals. So they don't score many goals. They don't concede many goals. This has got a 0-0 written all over it, or perhaps even just a 1-goal swing in this game. So, you know, it's not going to be like the Bologna game. It's not going to be a 4-0, I don't think. And I'll come on to my score prediction in a moment as well. But don't expect goals in this game. Sunderland are very good defensively. Don't score many goals going forward. So if we can get a goal or two, that might just be enough for us to get the result, but they're going to be a tight defence to breach for us. Their last 5 results, so a 1-0 win against Spurs, where Mukiele scored a goal for them. Everyone seems to be beating Spurs at the moment. Spurs are in real deep trouble. A 2-1 win in their local derby against Newcastle, a 90th minute Brian Brobbey winner, and Talbi scoring earlier on in that game as well to level it up after Newcastle had taken an early lead. So that's a really, really good result for them. Then a 1-0 defeat to Brighton. And also another 1-0 defeat to Port Vale in the FA Cup. And then a 1-0 win against Leeds, where Habib Diarra scored a penalty for Sunderland as well. In the reverse fixture at the Stadium of Light, you might remember this one. It was a 1-1 draw. It was easy. Matty Cash gave Villa the lead. Our first goal of the Premier League. I think I was after is that our 5th game or something into the Premier League season, and we finally scored. Matty Cash from the edge of the box, long range effort. I think the keeper got a hand to it, but couldn't keep it out, and we finally scored a goal in the Premier League. And then Wilson Isidore getting their equaliser, kind of in the 75th minute, kind of later on in the game to make it a 1-1 draw in the reverse fixture there. So that's that one there. Top goal scorers for them. As I said, they don't score very many. Brian Brobbey with 6 goals is their top goal scorer in all competitions. Then you've got Enzo Lafie with 5, and a few of those have been penalties. Wilson Isidore and Talbi are joint on 4 goals. And then assists, Granit Xhaka, probably one of the best signings of the season. I think he came in, I think he did cost them a bit of money. I think he cost them like 15 million, so it wasn't like a free transfer. But he's 33 years of age. A lot of people would have said, he's had his day. He was obviously very good at Arsenal, had a little bit of falling out with them, joint by Leverkusen, had a good season in Germany, and decided to come back to the Premier League. And he's got 5 assists for them this season, Granit Xhaka. He's still very much the glue that's holding that midfield together for Sunderland, and probably their player of the season. So Granit Xhaka 5, Enzo Lafie 4 assists, Mukiele from right back with 4 assists as well. And then injuries and suspensions. Injury-wise, Dan Ballard, centre-back, is out with a hamstring injury, and there won't be any Villa Park reunion for Bertrand Traore. We all remember Bertie, but he's got a knee injury at the moment and looks like he's going to be ruled out of this game and a return to Villa Park. And I have some fond memories of Bertrand Traore, especially that goal against Leicester when he pinged it in the top corner, and that lovely little daisy cutter goal against West Brom, where he just passed it into the back of the net so effortlessly. But no return for Bertrand Traore. Maybe he'll be in the travelling squad. Maybe he'll get a round of applause when his name is called out, or when the camera goes on him or something. So, but let's see. But obviously, the standout players for Sunderland this season, as I mentioned, Granit Xhaka has been a really, really good signing for Regis Lebris in that midfield at 33 years of age. People would have said his legs are gone, but he's absolutely running the show for Sunderland and running games for them. Brian Brobbey coming into a bit of form lately. Good hold-up play, very aggressive strikers. I think we saw against, was it Spurs recently, where they sort of said he was like manhandling Romero and he should have got a red card and this and that. But Brobbey, he's a player that we've come across before when we played Ajax in the Conference League a couple of years ago. Very much of a rough diamond, has a lot of kind of raw potential and good attributes. But I remember his first touch not being very good. He was just all about physicality. I mean, he's not the biggest player, but he's quite broad. He's quite strong. Likes to put his body on the line. But I wouldn't say he's technically any good. I don't think he'd be, people are saying, oh, Chelsea are looking at him, Spurs are looking at him. I don't think he's that level of striker, if I'm fair. But, he's still got years to go. Maybe he can progress. But for me, hoping I'm not jinxing it, I don't really see him as too much of a threat. Robin Roofs, the goalkeeper, a really good signing for them. I think he cost them like 15 million from Nijmegen in the area Divisie. He's been an outstanding pickup and a really, really good, consistent goalkeeper for them. Has been injured recently and they've had to play the Swedish guy Elborg in goal. But I think he's back now, this Robin Roofs. And he's probably going to be on the plane in the Dutch setup for the World Cup, I would imagine. But yeah, a really good pickup for them and a really good goalkeeper. And then Talbi is a young up-and-coming winger that we've come up against in the past at Club Bruges. Predominantly plays from sort of the right wing, but can play left as well. Tricky customer, still getting used to the Premier League. Inconsistent, as you would expect a 20-year-old winger to be, but got really good high potential. And I think he'll be a good player for them in the years to come, and maybe in the future looking to get into a bigger team. But yeah, a good signing for them. I think it cost him like 20 million from Club Bruges, so he wasn't cheap. And he's currently, helping out with sort of 4 goals this season. But yeah, maybe one to look out for the future is Talbi. In terms of team news for Aston Villa, I think it's obviously going to be rest and recovery today and tomorrow. A little bit of light sessions here and there. I don't think there'll be too much more. I think we'll go Emi Martinez in goal if he is fit, if he can do 2 games in quick succession. If it is Marco Bizzo in goal, then so be it. But I said if Martinez, for me, if he is fit and available, he will play and he should play. We need his big game experience in these last running of the season now. Matty Cash at right back. He went the full 90 minutes last night, which I was surprised about because obviously he's on one of those players on a yellow card up against Jonathan Rowe, who I haven't mentioned at all actually from the Bologna game. But, we were all raving about him after the first leg, including myself. Second leg, he was kept very quiet. I still think there is a player there. And I still think that is someone that Unai Emery could definitely work with. So I'm not just saying after the second leg performance, oh, let's write him off. I actually think there still is a player there that can be coached really well, and he's young enough to take on and improve. So yeah, that's my sort of take on Jonathan Rowe. But yeah, so Emi Martinez in goal for Sunderland, I would go for. Matty Cash at right back again, if he can go again. Ezri Konsa, the goal scoring hero. He keeps his place, had a little rest against Forest. I think he comes back in for this one. Pau Torres has been really, really good for us. It was good to see Tyrone Mings back on the bench last night, but I think Pau Torres continues. Mings might be good maybe for the physical side against Brobbey. So if it was Tyrone Mings that was going to come in, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If Victor Lindelof came in, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If these guys needed a bit of rest or were having niggles here and there. But if everyone is fit and available, I don't see any point in changing that centre-back pairing of Konsa and Torres. And then left-back, Digne's gone 90 minutes again last night on a yellow card. I think he did 90 minutes the game before that as well against Nottingham Forest. So I would probably look to put Ian Maatsen in here against Sunderland. And I think Sunderland have wide players like Talbi that could be dangerous and threatening. So I would put Ian Maatsen at the left back and just give Luca Digne, from the bench maybe if we need to shore things up towards the end of the game. CDM pairing. We saw Bogard and Douglas Luiz finish the game at CDM for us last night. But for me, Amadou Onana got his little bit of rest in there, and Yuri Tielemans as well. They're back in, I think, as a CDM pairing. They're beginning to build a bit of a partnership. Amadou Onana being that defensive rock, sweeping up, using his long go-go gadget legs to sort of win challenges, and his physical and bringing the ball out a little bit. And Tielemans just adding that touch of class and that ball playing ability. it just complements each other really well. So I would go Onana and Tielemans as the CDM pivot. Ahead of that, no changes. John McGinn, who had plenty of rest, came on off 60 minutes. Morgan Rogers came off as well, so he had a good little rest and should be hopefully confident. He'll come in as well. And then I thought Buendia, I thought he did really well in last night's game. I thought he did well in the first leg against Bologna as well. I thought he was unlucky not to be dropped against the Forest. So I think Buendia keeps his place, got his goal as well. So I wouldn't change that 3 behind. And then obviously Ollie Watkins, who came off after 60 minutes, 100th goal. Confidence is up with him. We saw a little bit of Tammy, more of Tammy Abraham than we have recently. He's obviously in the last few minutes of a few games. He got a full sort of half an hour last night. Granted, we didn't have to create too much, and we didn't create too much, and he was doing a lot of pressing here and there. But yeah, I feel Ollie Watkins, should be starting up front in this one as well. And who knows, Tammy still has a role to play from the bench, and maybe he'll get another sort of 20 minutes of this one. But so that would be my lineup: is Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Torres, Maatsen, Onana, Tielemans, McGinn, Rogers, Buendia, and Watkins. And my score prediction for this, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think there's going to be 1 goal in it. I'm going for a 1-0 Aston Villa win, and I'm going to go for a Yuri Tielemans goal. There you go. A long-range Yuri Tielemans goal to settle the game. Sunderland will struggle to get to score. We need to make sure that we're using the bench. We've got Marco Bizzo, Garcia, Mings, Luca Digne, Jadon Sancho looked quite a little bit bright when he came on. Tammy Abraham, Lamar Bogard, Leon Bailey, who had a little run in the second half as well, and Victor Lindelof. So I think that bench and the players on that bench should be enough to see this game over the line and see us freshen up a little bit in the second half if we need to. But that's my prediction, 1-0 Villa on Sunday. Let me know your score predictions in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000. 90% of you guys that watch my content are not subscribed. I don't know why, but if you're coming back and you're watching it again and again, just hit that subscribe button. Let's hit a like target of 20 likes for this video. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, just put in the comments Watkins 100. Okay, until the next one, guys. Over and out. Enjoy your Friday. Get back to work. Bye-bye.